All right, so today what we're going to do is go over the 2.4 day 2 notes. So this is what we would have done originally on Tuesday for odd periods, but because we had our snow day, we kind of need to get caught up on Friday and do this lesson virtually. So if you click on this notes PowerPoint, this will pull up your actual notes. Some of you have this because I gave it to you in person, which is great, and then some of you don't, which is totally fine. You can be writing this in your math notebook, or if you have access to a printer, that's cool too. Just go ahead and click on this, and it will bring up the PowerPoint. If you print it, I would recommend always downloading it, which you can do by pressing this little drop-down arrow in the upper right-hand corner. So do this if you're going to print it. Okay, so then let's just go over these notes really quick, and then you can start on the review and then take your quiz. All right, so the new thing that we have going on for today is just interval notation. We've already done multi-step equations, and so multi-step inequalities aren't really that different. Remember, the only difference really when we're solving is if we divide or multiply by a negative number, we have to flip our inequality sign. So up at the top, our topic is 2.4 day 2. Okay. So then interval notation, this is just another way of expressing the answer to an inequality. So we want to use parentheses and brackets to show where the graph starts and ends. So this is something that won't be on your test, but I think it's very important that you see it for sure. So when we're expressing inequalities with parentheses or brackets, the parentheses, they mean not including, or if we have like an open circle or anything like that, we want to use parentheses. The brackets mean we're including that value, and that could also mean you have a closed circle. When it comes to infinity, we don't want to use brackets because we can't actually like reach infinity. So we can't really include that point. So we always want to write infinity, something that looks like this, with parentheses instead of brackets, because we're not including infinity because technically we can't. So now down here, we are going to solve 3x plus 12 minus 6x is less than or equal to negative 9. And you want to start this by combining like terms. So we can combine 3x and negative 6x to be negative 3x. And then we have to add on our plus 12 and keep less than or equal to negative 9. Just bring that down. Okay, now we want to subtract 12 on both sides. Okay, and we will get negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 21. All right, so now here's where you need to be very, very careful. We need to divide by a negative 3 on both sides, but anytime we divide by a negative number, we need to flip our inequality sign. So we're going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. And we should get x is greater than or equal to positive 7. Remember, we flipped our sign because we divided by that negative 3. And negative 21 divided by negative 3 is positive 7. Okay, so then now on our number line, we just want to make sure that 7 is on our number line. So I always put it in the middle and then go more positive to the right and then more negative to the left. Okay. We want a closed circle here because we want to include that 0.7 because it can be equal to, so we want to include it. And then we want to draw our arrow going to the right because x is greater than 7 or equal to 7. Okay. So here is where interval notation comes in. We start our value for possible values for x at 7, and since it can be equal to 7, we want to use a bracket. So we'll have the bracket and we're starting at 7, and we just keep on going to positive infinity. But remember, we can't reach infinity, so on the other side of the infinity, instead of a bracket, we want to use a parenthesis. So it looks kind of funky, but that is interval notation. Okay, now what I want you to do is go ahead and pause the video and try number 2 on your own. All right, so hopefully you've tried number 2 on your own. And so I'm just going to quickly go through it since you've already tried it. So x plus 5x is going to give us 6x minus 6, just bringing that down, is less than 12. We add 6 to both sides, and we get 6x is less than 18. Okay, now we need to divide by 6 on both sides, and we will be left with x is less than 3. I'm going to circle these so that we know that that's the answer. So then on our number line, we want to start with 3 in our middle just to make sure it gets on there, and then go more positive to the right and more negative to the left. Okay. Since x is less than 3, it's not including 3. We want every point around it, so just an open circle, and then we want our arrow going to the left. Okay. So then interval notation here, we're not including 3, and we're going infinitely more negative, so we want to start with our lower number, so we want to start with negative infinity because it's our lower number, and then we can go all the way up to 3, but we're not doing it, so we want just an open circle there again. All right. Go ahead and try 3 and pause the video, and we will double check answers in just a second. All right, for number 3, you should have x is less than or equal to negative 2. If you're wondering how I got that, you first distribute and you get 5 times x, which is 5x, and then 5 times 8, which gives you 40. And then we want to bring down our minus 7, and then that is less than or equal to 23. So now I combine like terms, and I did 40 minus 7, so I have 5x plus 33 is less than or equal to 23. Now we subtract 3 on both sides, or 33, I think I said 3. Okay, and we get 5x is less than or equal to negative 10. Okay, now we need to divide by 5 on both sides. And we didn't divide or multiply by a negative number, although that negative 10 is negative. We didn't divide on both sides by a negative number. We just divided by 5. So the sign would stay the same. So we will end up with x is less than or equal to negative 2. Okay. So then again, we just want to make sure that negative 2 is on our number line, more positive to the right and more negative to the left. Okay. We want to include that point negative 2, so we're going to do a closed circle. And since x is less than negative 2, we're going more and more negative. Okay, your interval notation here would be negative infinity because that's the lowest point it could be. And then we do want to include that point negative 2, so it will be a bracket instead of a parenthesis. All right, last one here. Hopefully you tried this one as well. When you distribute, you should get 5x minus 7x minus 7 is greater than negative 9. We combine like terms and get negative 2x minus 7 is greater than negative 9. Add 7 on both sides, and you should get negative 2x is greater than negative 2. Divide by negative 2 on both sides, which we know what happens when we divide by a negative number. So we get x is less than 1. Okay, now on our number line, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then more negative to the left, 0, negative 1, and negative 2. Since x is less than, we want an open circle at negative 1, or at 1, sorry. And then, since x is less than, we're going again to the left. So then when we write our interval notation, we're going from negative infinity to 1. And then, just to clarify, when we're using interval notation, it's basically what interval notation is telling us is all the possible values that x can be. So for number 4, x can be anywhere from negative infinity to 1, but it's not including either of those 2 points. So it can be anything in between the 2 points, but it cannot be specifically negative infinity because we don't even know what that is. And then it cannot be 1 because we're not including that point. All right, so now your homework for the day before you start your Chapter 2 quiz is to do the Chapter 2 review. I have posted, if you're watching this on Friday, I've already posted the review key for you to double check your answers with. If you were watching this before Thursday, just know that I will be posting the key for the review on Thursday after school to give everyone a chance to complete it before they look at the key. So it depends on when you're watching it, but just know that there should be a key either up already or up soon on Google Classroom for the key for the review so that you can double check your answers beforehand. And then if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask your questions before you take your Chapter 2 quiz. Your Chapter 2 quiz is covering 2.1, which is writing and graphing, and then all the way through what we did this week. It is on Formative and it's already live, so you can take it as early as you want. So please let me know if you have any questions and have a great weekend.